Okay, so let's talk about the small village of bhairavpur, a place where the nights are silent for a very good reason. An unseen terror has basically paralyzed the entire community, and it all stems from a single terrifying sound. We're going to dive into this local legend, and believe me, it's much more than just a ghost story. This is a deep dive into a real haunting.
The whole story really kicks off here, in a village completely gripped by fear. And the source of it all? A single run-down mansion, a haveli, that casts this long, dark shadow over everyone. You see, when the sun goes down, the streets just empty out. People lock their doors because they all know something terrible is waiting for them out in the dark.
So this brings us to the main question of our whole investigation. What exactly is this invisible force, this phenomenon that's managed to bring an entire village to a grinding halt? All the terror in this village can be boiled down to one chilling concept, the Aahat. Now, this isn't just any old sound. For the people of bhairavpur, hearing this phantom footstep means a terrifying, unseen presence has just locked onto you as its next victim.
And this is the question on everybody's mind. Is this all just mass hysteria? You know, a spooky story that's gotten way out of hand? Or is there something genuinely evil stalking the people of this village? Well, the answer wasn't going to come from logic, but from a whole series of terrifying, very personal encounters.
To really get a sense of the terror of the Aahat, we have to look at the evidence. And that evidence comes from the chilling, first-hand accounts of those who actually survived to tell the tale.
It all kicks off with an outsider named Rena. She was visiting the village, heard all the local stories, and just kind of laughed them off as superstitions. So, on a dare, she decides she's going to prove everyone wrong by stepping inside the haunted haveli, all by herself.
Yeah, her skepticism didn't last very long. Alone inside that mansion, her flashlight beam catches it, a second shadow on the wall, moving right along with her own. She called out, thinking someone was there, but the only answer she got was the sound of approaching footsteps. She was definitely not alone.
And pretty soon, this wasn't just some isolated incident happening in the haveli. No, the phenomenon started spreading right through the village, terrorizing people in their daily lives. The encounters were all a bit different, a shadowy figure, a terrifying whisper, a spectral passenger on a bus. But they all began the exact same way, with the sound of the Aahat.
So the village priest, a man named Mohan, he decides to fight back. He believed he could pacify the spirit, so he went to the haveli to perform religious rites and hopefully bring some peace to the village. But what he found, well, it wasn't looking for peace.
As Mohan was chanting his prayers, these words appeared on the wall, seemingly written in blood. And this, right here, confirmed their absolute worst fears. This wasn't some lost soul looking for peace. It was a powerful, angry force that threatened anyone who dared to challenge it.
With the entire village paralyzed by fear, and even religious intervention failing miserably, a small group of people came to a really important realization. The only way to end this was to stop running and finally confront this mystery right at its source.
The team that came together was, well, an unlikely one. You had Rena, the first victim. Then there was Anirudh, the schoolteacher, who'd gone from a total skeptic to a believer. And finally, DCP Arvind, a police officer who at first dismissed the whole thing as nonsense. They were all united by one single thing, a desperate need for answers.
Their investigation led them right back to where it all began, that old haveli. As they pushed deeper inside, past this chilling silence, they found a rusted iron door leading to a basement that had been sealed for years. After prying it open, they went down into the darkness, step by step, heading straight into the heart of all the terror.
And down in that cold, damp cellar, they finally found the truth. And let me tell you, it wasn't just a ghost story. It was a tragedy from 100 years ago, something far more horrifying than any of them could have possibly imagined.
Down in the basement, the spirit finally revealed itself. Its name was Lalita, and she was the original owner of the haveli. A century ago, her own husband had murdered her for her money, burying her alive in that very cellar. So the Aahat, it wasn't just a random haunting. It was the eternal echo of her struggle, a spirit trapped by pure rage and looking for revenge.
And with her identity came the awful truth about her curse, and it was absolute. Just hearing the footstep was a death sentence. But she also made it clear that anyone who learned the truth of her murder could never escape the Aahat either.
So they had found their answer, but in doing so, they had just sealed their own fate.
So now, armed with this horrifying truth and marked by the curse themselves, the investigators had to make one final, desperate attempt to end it all. But the question still lingered. Can a curse born from such a deep tragedy ever really be broken?
Their logic was pretty straightforward, almost primal, you know? If Lalita's spirit was tied to her physical remains buried in that Haveli, then destroying the Haveli, and her body along with it, should break the curse. So they set the entire mansion on fire, hoping to finally grant her spirit some peace and end the terror for good.
And for a little while, it actually seemed to have worked. The haunting stopped. The eerie silence that fell over bhairavpur was, for the first time, a peaceful one. The villagers, they breathed this collective sigh of relief, thinking their long nightmare was finally over.
But the story doesn't just end with a fire. Days later, Rina, back in the safety of her own room, miles away from the ruins of the Haveli, she heard it. Faint at first, but absolutely unmistakable. The slow, deliberate sound of approaching footsteps. The Aahat was back.
And this was the final chilling truth of Bhairavpur's legend. They solved the mystery of the Haveli, they uncovered Lalita's murder, but they couldn't destroy the phenomenon itself. The Aahat wasn't tied to a place anymore. It was now forever attached to those who knew its secret.
Which leaves us with this truly haunting question. What is the Aahat, really? Is it a ghost that's bound to a physical location? Or is it something more insidious? A curse that latches onto its victims? Or maybe, just maybe, it's a type of fear that once it takes root in your mind, can never truly be silenced.